Something I've been thinking about is the feeling of being busy all the time and kind of wanting to be busy, as in there's a lot of things that I'd like to get done, and that contrasting with the fact that I don't feel like I really get much done despite just feeling busy all the time. And it's pretty much all areas of just things, outside of immediate obligations like work or whatever, things that I have time set aside that I have to do. So this is all just stuff, on my own time that I want to get done, whether this is like creative projects, like, making videos like this, or logistical stuff, like I'm in the middle of kind of planning a long-term move, and I'm trying to downsize, and I have a lot of stuff I need to like sell and kind of list online. All of that I've been kind of busy with, and a lot of times I'll feel like I work usually later in the day, so I'll get up earlier and I'll feel like I have plenty of time. I have several hours here in the morning that I can theoretically be getting several hours worth of work done. And by the time I'm leaving for work, which usually at that point I'm feeling kind of rushed, and I'm trying to quickly make something to eat before I go to work, get ready, all that stuff. So it's not like I even feel like I'm doing this in like a leisurely, calm manner. And I'm doing that, and I'm just kind of thinking about what have I actually done. And it's always such a small amount. Like today, I had several hours before work. I was trying to, crank out a lot of stuff, and I have a couple kind of like longer term projects, and I think part of the problem is I have a hard time focusing on more than one thing at the same time, even though I have time for it. So instead of dividing up, if I have 4 hours of time, I could spend, 1-ish hour doing 4 different tasks. And, I definitely have at least 4 that I could be working on. And that seems like that would be kind of a valuable or, efficient use of time doing that, because then I'm not doing anything for too long. I don't have that much time to lose focus on it. I just need to, focus for 1 hour on each thing, and then I kind of like get a rest from that while I do something else. So, logically that seems like a pretty solid bet. I kind of have a hard time switching gears, and usually I just will spend the whole time working on one thing. Like today, I spent the whole time just trying to inventory like a lot of books I have, get those posted online. I was making a marketplace post, and just researching online about like how to price things and kind of get that all settled. And by the end of my time at home before I had to go to work, I feel like I had barely done anything. I finished this post I had of all the stuff that was already half done already from working on it before. And it just seemed like that probably only took actually 30 minutes, maybe an hour, probably not even an hour of like focused attention to it. And that's been pretty common occurrence for me across the board. So I have all this time, I barely get anything done, but I'm just feeling like I'm busy and kind of rushed the whole time, and that I'm not really getting much done, rather than just actually sitting and focusing on something. And getting it done in a timely manner, and then having plenty of other time to do other things, which could be working on other stuff, or just like getting a bug in my nose. Or just, nothing in particular, just like reading or, studying, or taking a walk, going outside, taking a leisurely amount of time to like make food and get ready so I don't feel rushed going to work, or just any of that. It's like, I feel like the time is available, but I'm using it very poorly, and I just end up feeling rushed and stressed, and then guilty and disappointed that I didn't really get much done. And I just kind of like repeat that day after day, you know, and then you repeat that long enough, you know, I do that for a week and I think, you know, what did I get done? This is probably like 3 or 4 hours of total work I did, even though I was basically working on it for hours every day, like spending all of my free time doing this stuff, just in an inefficient and, you know, not very focused and not very satisfying manner. It's just a frustrating way to go about things. I'm not quite sure what to do about it aside from just trying to practice like focusing on stuff more. I feel like this in a lot of areas of life, and you know, when you think about it, a lot of things you want to do don't really take that much time. At least, you know, that's, man, there's some crazy gnats out. At least that's a lot of the stuff that I've been working on. It doesn't take that long. Just a little bit of focused effort. And I could be doing so much, or just, you know, not in the way that I feel like I have to fill up every second with something like productive, but you know, I could be doing a lot of things that I would like to be doing and would like to accomplish and get done, and working on these longer term projects, which, you know, is harder to have kind of like a clear progress, you know, like studying. You know, I've been trying to learn Japanese for, you know, a very long time with very, you know, scattered and mixed results. So that's something that's like a little bit harder to gauge progress on, which is why a lot of times I just end up not even working on it at all, because it's, it feels a lot easier to check something off, like a completed task, like, okay, I listed all of my books for sale. That is a finished task. There's nothing left to do about that. You know, the whole thing's finished. Whereas if I spent that same amount of time studying, that's just kind of like a never-ending task. Or, you know, like practicing music, or, you know, practicing some other skill, anything like that. And I tend to just end up focusing on these types of work a lot that have like a defined ending point. Same with these videos. I spent a lot of time, a lot of focus making these sometimes, just because I want to do something to feel accomplished. And, you know, when I have a certain amount of time available to me in a day or whatever, you know, I could spend that chipping away at some longer term projects that are a little bit more ambiguous, like studying, or, you know, building skills, that kind of thing. Or I can, unfortunately I don't really like this, but I feel a lot more accomplished when I just go out and I make some of these just like stupid videos where I just go out and talk. Because then I can go, oh, you know, what did I do today? I went out and I made 3 or 4 videos, versus I just like studied for a while with, not that there's nothing to show for it, but it's not as obvious. It's not like, oh, I have these 3 videos in the book, in the books now. Like, this is done and completed. I accomplished this. With something else like that, like a long-term skill building type thing, you know, it's just, I can spend that same amount of time doing it, and I don't really have anything to immediately show for it. You know, it's not like I am, you know, now this measurable amount's better at the skill. It's a much longer, slower building process. I think that's part of the problem with how I'm using time a lot, is just focusing on these shorter projects, and it's not anything that I don't want to do. It's all stuff that I'd like to do, but I don't really divide my time very well. So I you know, kind of like waste a lot of time, and I'm like slow moving about this, and I just try and make sure I get a couple things checked off that I feel like that feels more accomplished to me than like any longer term type stuff. Even though you know, I think it would be a lot more beneficial to divide my time, work on several different things in a time period, a little bit of time for each thing, and you know, be building multiple things all at once, and I would get some short-term gratification, you know, projects done, and be working on some longer-term stuff. But just been having a hard time doing that. I don't really like that. I don't like feeling busy and stressed all the time. I don't mind being busy, but I want to feel like I'm using my time for something. Like I'm not just kind of like wasting time. And by wasting time, I don't mean doing things that aren't productive. I just mean like not enjoying my life, which is a lot of what I do, you know. A lot of this just kind of like split energy of, you know, unfocused work and unfocused living, and just kind of like spending a lot of time kind of like half-assing something and not really getting much done. That feels very wasteful to me, you know. I think 1 hour of focused something and then 3 hours of literally anything else, as long as I'm just being present and enjoying it, is, you know, way less wasteful way to live. So something I've been struggling with lately, and I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. Trying just to like get a little bit more focused and be able to get some more stuff done. I think that's all I got to say about this one. So I think I kind of lost my train of thought in the middle, so hope this feels cohesive enough. Thanks for watching, as always.